You know those cryptics? They literally used to, I guess they still do, send people out on the highways. And we used to make those. You know, I used to have a desk at that. And when I met Phyllis, I had a big desk in my car. So yeah, she had to sit in the back seat practically. But then I quit working for AAA. But that's another story. But I would travel all of the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, looking at road conditions and doing different things, and checking out the gas, food, and lodging for AAA, and checking highway construction. It was kind of a fun job for a long time. But I've always liked roads, and I've always liked aviation, so I've been able to work in two of my passions. But I've done this Roads of Loudoun. I realized that maybe I'm getting up in my years. I was at the hospital the other day with Phyllis, and there was a lady there insisting she'd just been to see this doctor, and they pulled out every record in the world, and they said, no, you haven't been here since 2008. And finally she said, oh, I guess I haven't been here since 2008. But we've been putting out that I do this every year, and then when I was back in the records, I haven't done this since 2008. I shouldn't have been laughing at first so much. But it is kind of a fun project. And, you know, one of the things that the state of Virginia does, very much like most other societies, communist societies in particular, is they put out a 6-year road plan. The communists used to use a 5-year plan. They're very, very similar. They come up with imaginary funding and imaginary projects and say, we're going to complete this in a period of time, and they never do. They don't have the funding and they don't have anything. So what I do is I go to the engineers, specifically the head engineer for VDOT for Northern Virginia, and I sit down with them and we spend an afternoon together and we talk about the projects, we talk about where the funding is going to come from, what's going to happen with the roads coming up, and it's usually been extremely accurate. An example has been, I think as long as most of us have been here, we've been talking about the improvement of what I call Route 659. Most of you newcomers probably call it Belmont Ridge Road. It's supposed to have been 4 lanes since I was talking to Melissa last night. One of her early listings was on 659 Belmont Ridge, and they were going to 4-lane it, and nobody wanted to buy it. They still haven't 4-lane it. I had one that they were concerned nobody would buy it if they were going to 4-lane it. And that particular listing I had in, I think, 1984. So you never can tell what they're going to build and what they're not going to build. It was kind of fun to sit with the engineer because then you get a much more realistic picture of what the fact is. And that's what I'm going to try to do today. It's kind of we're running around the county what the highway engineers think is coming in when they think it's coming in. Well, if it'll really be done. So we'll start right off with, you'll find in your packets this legend. It's always nice to look at a legend. You've got, it'll tell you how many lanes the road is planned for. It'll tell you, just everything that you're going to see on the overall plan. And speaking of the overall plan, I should put this rascal up here. I'm not going to put it up there. Well, I'll just hold it up for a second. This is Loudoun. And this is all of its roads, and all of those little symbols are on there. We'll be putting this up in the conference rooms and what have you, so that when you're speaking to people. But to me, it's really interesting. I mean, we're right here in the center of Ashburn, which is roughly right here. And you can see that the developed part of Loudoun County is right here. Not that people in Round Hill and Percival and places aren't in developed sites, but not very densely developed. It kind of gives you an idea as to the vastness of Loudoun County. We're actually bigger than Fairfax in land mass. But once you hit the mountains, development stops, and it's never going to develop out there. The main reason is stuff rolls downhill, and until you can figure out a way to make a sewer across a hill, you've got a problem. So that really slows down development in western county. The mountain ridge going down this way will, in fact, force all the development to move towards north. But that's where we are. That's what this plan is based on. And that's what our discussions in Leesburg were all based on. And that's basically the tool to use to understand what's there. And the first project we're going to talk about is Belmont Ridge Road. When is that thing going to be built? The engineers have it on the books now from the Dulles Toll Road that work? Here we go. There's the Dulles Toll Road on up to Route 7. Technically, in the 6-year plan, that is supposed to be built to a 4 and eventually a 6-lane flag. Although you'll notice when I talked about that grid just a second ago, this says limited access 4-lane road. They're really in their plans have it for 6. But nobody has the money to build it. So until somebody pulls a rabbit out of a hat, Belmont Ridge is not going to be built anytime in the near future. But what will be built on it, what they are working on, what they're trying to do, they're trying real hard to do, is build this piece from here to Gloucester. And they are going to build it as a 2-lane road as it exists today and to change the road bed. But the real purpose is going to be is to eliminate the bike crossing. The first piece that you're going to see is they're going to put a bridge across for the bike crossing. And I'm trying to remember, I might have that backwards. It might actually be bridge across for the road now. But one or the other is going to bridge over there. Primarily for safety reasons. They don't have funding for it yet. But when they get some funding, that's the first piece that they're going to build. So as it moves along, that's what you're going to find.
Quick question, what's the Clover here? Is that Cloverfield intersection? Is that the one that?
Pardon?
Cloverfield intersection.
Cloverleaf.
Cloverleaf intersection.
The Cloverleaf is going to be built out here at Route 7.
Is that the one that goes up and around this
Yeah,
circle?
just like
Okay.
the thing at Loudoun County Parkway.
And that's
I
where
got the
the-
Cloverleaf. That's what it's talking about. Where you've got red things like that and circles inside of them.
Okay.
That's a real need. They don't have
That's
that
a real,
early in
that's the biggest one.
the.
That is, there's no funding for it, and that's
That's the
expensive.
biggest traffic jam, one of the biggest ones in Loudoun County right now.
Absolutely, no question. They don't have anything for it. The plan is. Does anybody remember Kate McGinnis?
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Well, she was the one that pushed so much from Xerox that pushed for turning Route 7 into Merritt Parkway.
Right.
And the plan was to turn it all into a 4-lane divided control access highway to Leesburg, which will happen eventually. It'll mostly happen from Belmont Ridge east first. When they will complete it going into Leesburg, I don't know. They should have done that with Battlefield to begin with. Why build a grade level crossing and then turn around and have to rebuild it again? But as my grandfather used to say, and I used to ask him this question, he was a pretty smart guy if I ever had him done to school. When I asked him why do the engineers build the roads like this, his very simple answer was so that they go along straight and I think that's why. It's kind of it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for them. If they do that, they will always have a job. Right? So that was his answer to it, and it's followed me along in life pretty well. These are just some pictures that I've taken to identify it. You'll find them in the packet. It's not a big deal, but this is looking from. The one here on the right side is looking from Lansdowne towards Route 7. There's really not a lot to describe when we talk about a Cloverleaf, but I showed a couple of them. And then, of course, the bike trail is there. Oops, I've done something wrong. That's pretty neat. It doesn't work for me.
It's not of interest, when they widened Belmont, on one side of it, there is a whole bunch of new development, newer development that backs right to Belmont. Are they gonna take, have they reserved land on the other side to widen that way, or are they gonna go really close to the back there?
Where Belmont and where?
Right on Belmont, between, I think, Moreland Estates and Blacksville, whatever it is, north of Blacksville on the.
Well, the right-of-way is there. Now, where the right-of-way exists, I don't know.
Yeah, because right now, these homes right there below the.
Are you talking about right in here?
Yes, they are very close to the road already.
They are very close to the road. I would imagine in that case, most of your right-of-way is going to come on the other side.
There's new buildings going on the other side. There's new developments now, which don't even show on here.
Are you talking, at Blackspool you're talking about? So you're talking,
There's also some.
Moreland Estates on the other side, but you can't get to the.
yeah, I'm not even showing a map with the Blackspools on it.
That's going to be.
That's going to be, well, they've got the right-of-ways reserved though. You know, it's a,
Poor people that live there are gonna be shopping.
well, you know, that happens everywhere. That was like when they built the Algonquin Parkway. I remember people for years used to do that. I used that as my cold sorting technique. I got familiar with what was happening with the Algonquin Parkway. I kept calling into Three Falls Forest and telling the people what was coming. They loved to have me. It became a room call. They waited on my call. They would not take me on the do not call list. So, and a lot of people found that road was coming through when it was coming through, and then when they built Algonquin Parkway, it was no big shock to them, and a lot of people were actually able to sell their houses before they built the road, so they could get out from under it. That's a new guy had the problem.
Thomas Crossing the same way. I saw one long before they completed that road because my client was keeping up with what was going on.
Yes, exactly. And that's you know, it's a great way to do business. You know, cold calling is cold calling, but if you're giving people something, they don't care. They're not taking you off this. You can stay in touch with your clients. Brian Buffini is so correct with that. There's nothing. So moving right along, let's go to the next one. This is where the action is in Loudoun County. There are some really interesting additions to this. This is a map of Route 7, Ashburn Village Boulevard, coming down 28th and coming around. There are some really neat things here. I'm going to take them in order. I'd like to jump ahead, but I can't do that. At Ashford Village Boulevard and Route 7, I'm trying to do this like I drive it. Phyllis and I, in fact, did. We were driving down the road. She'd stop. I'd hop up in my camera, take pictures, get back in the car. We survived. At Ashford Village and 7, there will be a full cloverleaf interchange. It should have already been built because you paid for it. The state of Virginia has taken over all of the road building expenses in the state of Virginia from the counties at the end of the Depression, because the counties didn't have any money and nobody could build roads. It became a state function. They turned all of their road building authorities over to the state. And of course, that was 70, 80 years ago, 90 years ago, whatever it was. So since then, you'll notice that counties don't build roads in Virginia. Well, Loudoun County has taken to building roads again, and they've got authority from the state. And that regulation has been changed, but yet the counties don't have any money either. We do, because we passed bonds to build roads. I don't think Fairfax has done the same. This particular intersection, Ashburn Village Boulevard and Route 7, was funded by your tax dollars in Loudoun County. That was a Loudoun County project. Just because our people up there are relatively intelligent, they can be relatively dumb too. They went down here to One Loudoun, and the people at One Loudoun had proffered this 4-leaf clover at the Loudoun County Parkway and Route 7. And the people that were developing Loudoun, One Loudoun, whatever they call it, talked to the people in Leesburg and said, we got a deal for you. If you'll build this one, we'll build that one. And Loudoun said, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll build that. So they went down and they took the money from this interchange, the Ashburn Village interchange, and moved it to One Loudoun. And you guys, instead of building Ashburn Village, built One Loudoun, and then One Loudoun went bankrupt. Oh well, who's going to build that particular piece of highway? Supposedly it's still on the books for One Loudoun to do it. When we're going to see it is beyond me. We will not see it in a hurry. It depends on the financing of One Loudoun. If they go bankrupt again, God knows what will ever happen to that project. That interchange is going to be pain in the neck. That's something we're going to have to live with for some time, I'm afraid. But you will see it in the 6-year plans.
They had the same kind of scenario at the Lansdowne Boulevard that it was at.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be done, it got delayed, on, and I lost track of the details, but it was something like that.
Yeah. Well, those kind of things really come into play on these things a lot, unfortunately. So Ashburn Village Boulevard will probably still be a traffic light for the foreseeable future. And there it is. The next one is Lexington Drive. Anybody know where Lexington Drive is? There's a few of us. We drive past it all the time. Anybody know where that Belmont nursery is? That's Lexington Drive, coming across Route 7. It's right there. It is. It is one of the bottlenecks because of the traffic light. It will be cleared up. It will be done sooner rather than later because it's cheap to do. What they are going to do with that is they're going to build an overpass across 7. You'll probably see that start sometime in the next 12 months. They'll put the overpass across Route 7, and there will be no access on or off Route 7 onto Lexington Drive. Lexington Drive will just be there.
What about Smith Circle?
Pardon me?
How about Smith Circle? That's across the street.
Well, Smith Circle's the same way. There is no access to it now except for off Lexington.
Yeah, but right now what you do is when you're going west, you take a right and then take another right. So they took their first exit and canceled it completely.
Right. Now what Smith Circle people are going to have to do is they're going to have to fly over 7 and come up and down Russell Branch.
Wow.
Well, they're making this a controlled access highway. I mean, there's been in the plans for a long time. The problem is that people don't read plans. That's why we have that little caveat at the back of the contract that says that you guys know nothing about roads and therefore go to the county and talk to them before you buy a house. That's one of the exclusionary clauses that keeps us from getting in trouble. But they will eliminate that light entirely, and that is coming sooner than later. So in essence, what you're going to be doing is if you're going to be using those roads, you're going to be up and down Lexington Parkway. And you'll also notice that Riverside Parkway, now this wasn't part of our discussion, Riverside Parkway pretty well ends here at Ashburn Boulevard, and it will eventually connect up to this Lexington Drive. And you see that the little piece right here for Smith Circle, which you were talking about, also connects in there now, currently, that Loudoun Nursery. That's, as far as I can tell, and for the foreseeable future, where Riverside's going to end. It's not going to continue on down to connect University Center. And if it does, it's going to be one heck of a long way out. There's really no way to do it right now without taking out houses. Not too many people are too interested in getting out their homes. So that's pretty much the way that little section will end up right there. There is no known funding source for that yet, but since it's cheap, they'll shift the funds from something else. Because they want traffic to flow on 7. That's a major bottleneck. East and west of Leesburg, that's a major bottleneck. So that's the way it looks today. It will not look that way for long. The next one is Russell Branch and Strayer. And everybody knows where Strayer College is. Strayer University, whatever they call themselves these days. Down here by that Visa building with no name. But it's right here. Right here. There is a plan to connect. There is a plan to connect Russell Branch right on through and to come around this way, right next to Route 7. And when you actually look at the real plan, I mean, it's like parallel to Route 7. The problem has been that there is a body of water, Broad Run, that runs through there. And anytime you hit a body of water with the road, you start really talking big dollars. Because you got to build bridges, you got to put in pilings, you got to do all the wonderful environmental studies. So there's been nobody to do that, but now we have Kincora, the people that are bringing us the Loudoun Hounds and probably all kinds of other amazing things. Part of their proffers to get that approved was that they were supposed to build the road system first and then build the rest. The reality is, you can you can get people to promise you anything. They don't have the money to do that. So they have been going to the state trying to find all kinds of different creative ways to get the funding to build the roads. And when I first put this plan together and talked to the engineers about it, they didn't have it. Apparently they have found it, because They broke ground on it the other day. So this project, assuming they have enough funding, and I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out where it came from, what I'm going to be talking about this corner is going to actually come to pass. And that's probably the first big change that you're going to see.
So where do you think Russell Branch is going to connect to Loudoun County Parkway?
Russell Branch will connect to, well, it already does connect.
It does
to
connect right now.
So are they going to then cross over 7?
They will, no, not cross over 7. They will come down past Strayer. They'll come right down across Broad Run, right there, right next to Route 7.
You're pointing on your
Well,
screen.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
I knew there was something wrong with it. Yes, they will, thank you, Paul. This pink thing right here is the U4 connector. That is Russell Branch. It will come down, it'll come across Broad Run. It will make a nice, neat little right-hand turn and come right on down here, and we will show you more about this later. It will connect up right here. This is Noakes Boulevard. You may not know where it is, but you know where the mall is, and that's the interest of the mall. At Noakes Boulevard, as part of this neat package, is Gloucester Parkway. I'm getting way ahead of myself. So you're going to have Gloucester coming across, flying right across Route 28 and going straight into the mall. You're going to have Russell Branch Parkway coming down here, hooking up at Strayer, coming right on around to Noakes Boulevard. And the long and the short of it is that we will no longer have to use Route 7 from Ashford. Can you imagine what that's going to do to traffic on Route 7? I mean, that's going to be a godsend. And they broke ground on this project about 7 days ago. They had all the politicians in the That's going to make Ashburn, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most desirable areas in northern Virginia to live. You'll be able to go everywhere from there.
That'll help Blackspool a lot too.
That'll help Blackspool, that'll help all of it. And when they do the last little piece of Pacific Boulevard, that's going to help Blackspool tremendously. We'll get into that as we go. But I said that it was probably not going to be completed right away. I might be surprised if it broke ground. The first section to be completed will be this. Now, I do know this particular piece of Gloucester is really in dispute. It will be built. I'm not sure they have the funding anywhere near for that, because that requires another bridge. And it's bad enough to build one. I can't imagine they're going to build 2 of them right away. But maybe they found the Santa Claus. I don't know. They had tried to. What they were trying to do with that, after saying that for their development that they would proffer it, Route 28, for those of you that don't know, is something called a PPTA, Private Partnership Transportation Authority. Is that what it is? Something like that. But there's any taxing authority. There we go. Private Partnership Taxing Authority. Any business along the 28 corridor that was described back in about 1985, we have been paying higher taxes every year since then for that road. And if it wasn't for that private road, that's really a private road. That's not a state road, although the state maintains it to a degree. 28 is a private road, all the way through to Route 29 in Fairfax. And the landowners pay for it. We've been paying taxes on that since forever. Yes?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I know our Sterling office, we own a little condominium down there, and I just looked at it yesterday. This year we paid $536 for the maintenance of it. The landowners voted on it. They voted the taxation on themselves, and I totally agree with it. I mean, because that would still be along that little 2-lane 28 all up. About 4 years ago, maybe it was 6 years ago, we took another vote and we taxed ourselves again for another long period of time. I think now the tax is running until 2040 or something. And that's what built all those interchanges on 28th on them, was the landowners alongside of Route 28, not the state of Virginia. The state did contribute, I think, 25%, but we threw in 75%. And a lot of the Atlantic, all of the Atlantic and Pacific Boulevard extensions are all part of the PPTA. And in fact, the Wax Pool extension and part of the Loudoun County Parkway were paid for by the PPTA, even though they were not in the PPTA area. So You know, these private partnerships, Loudoun has been blessed by them. We started with the crazy idea of the toll road, which, you know, we love to hate it. But at the same time, the first PPTA in Virginia was Route 28. Now you're finding that that is an expanding way of actually financing roads to get them done. But there's no way in the world the state's ever going to get them done. It's the newest tax in the world that you don't call a tax. I heard Governor McDonnell the other day on the radio. Politicians, I love to hate them. He was talking about the new tolls they're putting on 95. I guess everybody's heard 95 is going to become a toll. But it's going to be, okay, on the southern end of it, it's going to be below Fredericksburg.
Way down there.
Now we do have traffic all the way to Florida.
So they're putting that in. And the government has said that any money raised on the 95 tolls has to be spent in maintenance on the 95 corridor. So McDonald was talking about what that was going to be. What he's doing is, since around the Beltway is 95, he is planning to use that money to reduce the cost of the hot lanes on the Beltway. You all familiar with the hot lanes? I think that's the dumbest idea. Come up here to the Kevin John Bridge or the Allegiance Bridge or whatever you call it these days. We're going to have lanes dumping together like they do down by Quantico now on 95. And we all know what that does. That makes for a huge traffic jam. I don't know how in the world those lanes ending at that particular bridge are going to alleviate traffic on 95. And quite honestly, the engineer from the county, from the state, he doesn't either. He thinks it was a dumb idea. But that's life. But McDonald talked about that, and so some lady, sounded like an elderly lady, called in the radio show and said, Governor McDonald, I have a question for you. Yes, ma'am. And she said, Governor McDonald, you ran on a pledge of no new taxes. And he said, yes, ma'am, I strongly support no new taxes. And she said, well, then what's with these tolls on 95? He said, oh, they're not taxes. Those are user fees. Well, that's the way the government gets around it. You know, they don't raise taxes.
You know, I heard, I think it was a quote from this morning's news, but they were saying that our hot lanes are different than Atlanta's hot lanes, which Atlanta...
Yeah, we get more cold weather, so we're really warm lanes.
So they said they were adding 2 new lanes to the existing lanes, and those were going to be the hot lanes.
Yes, that's
whereas
right.
in Atlanta, they were just changing the name. They were funneling down to the existing lanes and calling them hot lanes. So you're saying they're not going to do that at the Cotton John?
They end there. You know, if you take, this goes back to my AAA days. I'm going to digress now. Sorry. There have been studies done with roads. When you have 4-lane roads, 2 lanes in either direction, conventional logic would say that if you added a 6th lane, 1 in each direction, it would increase the capacity of that road by 50%. But you don't, because traffic starts doing this. And you actually, with the 6th lane, increase the traffic capacity of that road by about 30%. Every lane that you add gives you a decreasing value for that lane. So they are adding 4 more lanes to the Boulevard, from Springfield to the Kevin John Bridge, and 2 lanes in each way that they call hot lanes. There will be toll lanes, the most expensive toll lanes in the country. And so when you get to the Kevin John Bridge, which currently has got up how many lanes, we're going to have 2 additional lanes in each direction of additional traffic that's going to funnel in together before it crosses that bridge. It's going to be a nightmare. There's no provision to put the lanes across the bridge, nor are there any provisions for the lanes to continue on in Maryland. So what we're going to have is the exact same circumstance that we have now. Yeah. So just quit using the Beltway. I give a class on how to use the inner Beltway, which is going through Washington like we did the other day. That works much better.
You Kevlar vest on.
Kevlar vest? Yeah. They only shoot each other down. The drug dealers are drug dealers. No, you know, they don't shoot honest people.
Just a straight bullet once in a while.
Just a stray bullet.
Would you
Yes.
point to Noakes on there? That's the green part on the right.
Noakes is this little piece right here.
And now it ends right on 28.
Well, it really doesn't. There's an interchange there, and it ends right here at Pacific Boulevard, which will take you to Wegmans.
Where's Wegmans right now, down here?
Wegmans is right down here at the bottom.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
Wegmans
right.
is down here.
And that would run into Church Road down
That would run
there.
into
Sorry, I'm
Church
trying
Road,
to get
absolutely.
a picture. Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Our wax pool is called to that one. That's Pacific Boulevard. We have Pacific Boulevard on this side, you have Atlantic Boulevard on that side. So at any rate, you will be able to, once they accomplish this, and they will accomplish it fairly soon, you will be able to hit Russell Branch Parkway and come on down here, and you'll be able to go in and out of Sterling without ever having to touch Route 7, which will be, you know, I don't care how you slice it. We come up 7 at night, about 4:30, 5 o'clock at night, and you're going to be backed up all the way into Ashburn and Leesburg and God knows where. That traffic will be able to maneuver around into Ashford, taking a lot of traffic off of 7 to begin with, down in that section. That's going to be a real godsend for us.
Maybe they'll activate the old toll house there.
Yeah, let's think about that.
There's a toll house right there in that.
It used to be a
See the
route.
roof of it.
Yeah, it's about 200 years old. Route 7 was a toll road. Actually, it wasn't Route 7 didn't exist. That was 193 and whatever they called the way west back in the day. Well, actually, it was a home for a long time, but it floods horribly when you get real floods, so it's not much use for a home. But this is just a little bit of a picture of it. If you go up by Strayer, this is. No, I got the wrong picture. So how did I get there? Did I move forward beyond that? Yeah. Somehow I've escalated my times here. This is currently where this road is ended. This is looking towards the east. That's where they will be building it. There's a Ashburn North Park and Ride lot right here for the commuters that the buses go in and out of. And if you look over to the side, you've got Strayer University or College.
Storage place down there.
Pardon me?
There's a storage place down there.
Yeah, the storage place. And,
Yeah, just a big parking lot.
yeah.
On the right.
So that will just take and fly right on over to Goose Creek, and then it'll turn around and bend back and go back to Noakes Boulevard, and then you'll be able to head Noakes Boulevard on into the mall or any place that you want to, or go to Wegmans, and it'll eliminate that. Can you imagine even for the holidays, all that traffic coming out of Wegmans that currently jumps on the Wax Pool Road? I mean, Phyllis and I actually spent 3 hours trapped in that parking lot. We were in there so long that we had to go out and go in and use the bathroom in the car. We got to alternate back and forth while we were waiting to get out of the parking lot. I mean, that was terrible. But now you will be able to go the other way around. So to fix that problem, Wegmans built another store on the road. You can't get it. Wegmans built, yes. Wegmans built a store. Look at it. They're working on that too. Good luck. It's going to be a long time in that little piece because nobody's funded that. So then you've got Noakes Boulevard in Gloucester. We kind of hashed through that, but I'll show you some pictures of it. If you look at this picture on the right, that's looking towards the east. That's where the cloverleaf is. That's where the roads come in now. The picture just to the left of that, that's where they just actually did the groundbreaking ceremony. And that's where they're starting the construction and going back towards the Strayer from that piece. This piece here is actually looking here off this cow pasture. That's going to be Gloucester. And I really hope that, yes,
So the groundbreaking is for the roads, or is it just for the stadium?
the roads.
That's both.
The approval for the stadium requires the roads to be built first. So the groundbreaking was for the roads.
That's the minor baseball.
Yes, that's the Loudoun Hounds.
That's what you
Yeah. For those of you that were at the opening of DAR across the way here, the Hound was there.
Oh, that's cool.
We
You'll love them soon enough.
That's right, you'll love them soon enough. Better put some money in for a skybox right there. We can use it.
For a hound?
I don't know. We'll see, Ray, we'll see.
So then we come to the Route 7 improvements. You know, Route 7 luckily is one of those roads where it's probably busier on Saturdays and Sundays than it is on Monday through Friday. It drives you crazy going up and down through there if you're coming from, it's not so bad coming from the east going west as it is from the west going east. But they recognize that, and they've got three places that they're improving Route 7 in the very near future. One will be here at Potomac View Road. Whoops. I don't know how I keep doing that. One will be at Potomac View, the other will be at Sterling Boulevard, and the other will be at Gloucester Drive. And what they're planning to do is they're going to add turning lanes to these. They're not going to take the lights out or do anything that makes real sense, but they are going to add turning lanes so that they can move more traffic to the intersections faster. And consequently, the light will be green longer on Route 7, which will give the traffic, you know, and we're only talking minute parts of time, but if you add about 10 or 15 seconds to each one of those light cycles going east, you're going to move a lot more traffic than what you're moving today. So that's what their plan is for that, and it should be coming up fairly shortly. These pictures I just took at Potomac View from the medical building there, looking over at the Lazy Boy place. And you see the traffic turning, you know, you've got one lane turning. Well, they're going to widen it. You're going to have two turning lanes from there. You're going to have turning lanes from here coming in, and you're going to widen the turning lanes going out this way, so that you already have two over here. So you will actually have a lot more capacity to move traffic through that interchange, so that you won't have to have the same light cycle that you do today. And that's pretty much what that picture was about there. Down at Augusta Drive, they're going to do the same thing. These are pictures from Augusta Drive. Actually, that's Sterling Boulevard there. But at Augusta, they're going to do the same issue. Apparently, that's that one. Yeah.
Augusta's your lower right.
Lower right.